Is bear spray a lie? On May 3, 2026, Anthony Polio used his on a grizzly in Glacier National Park. It didn't stop the bear. He died. 10 answers to a bear. From that can down to the one you'd never call bear defense. Number 10, bear spray. Ask 10 people what a can of bear spray actually does, and you get 2 answers, both wrong. Half think it's a novelty. Hot sauce in an aerosol aimed at 600 pounds of animal that opens logs for a living. The other half think it's a force field with a safety clip. The record is a lot better than the first group believes and a lot narrower than the second. Spray stopped the undesirable behavior in 92% of the brown bear cases, 90% of the black bear cases, 100% of the polar bear cases, which was 2 incidents, so don't build a religion on it. And of 175 people sprayed, yes, humans get sprayed too, 3 were injured, none seriously. Those numbers are Tom Smith and Stephen Herrero, Journal of Wildlife Management, 2008, 83 bear incidents in Alaska between 1985 and 2006, 72 of them with somebody actually discharging a can, 92%. That's the number everybody quotes at you, and it's real. Here's what it isn't. That study measured whether the bear stopped doing what it was doing, not injury prevented as a separate outcome. No comparison group, no randomization, no brand against brand, no way to pull the spray apart from the wind, the terrain, or the distance. Excellent observational data set, not a controlled trial. Then there's the range, which is where the marketing quietly parts company with the record. The can says 20 to 40 feet. The average distance people actually pulled the trigger in the field, about 4 meters, 13 feet. That's not a standoff weapon. That's arm's length plus 2 steps against an animal that closes 13 feet in about a second. And before somebody says it, wind. Everybody's uncle has a story about the can blowing back in his face. In the Alaska dataset, wind interfered with accuracy in about 5 to 7% of incidents, and in every one of those, the spray still reached the bear. Follow-up testing in deliberately cold, windy conditions still put it on target at 2 meters. Wind degrades it. Wind does not cancel it. Real limitation, smaller than the campfire version, which is where Polio comes back in. He got his can out inside that window, and it didn't stop it. Carry it anyway, it's still the most effective thing you can put in your hand. It's number 10 because the most effective thing in your hand is a much smaller promise than the internet makes it sound. Number 9, the gun. Your gut says this one's simple. Enough gun solves it. Bring the right caliber and the argument's over. Smith and Herrero came back for this one too. 2012, same journal, 269 bear firearm incidents in Alaska between 1883 and 2009, 444 people, more than 350 bears. Long guns stopped the aggression in 76% of cases, handguns 84%. And there was no statistically significant difference between them, which quietly torches about 9/10 of every gun counter argument you've ever had about this. Then there's the finding nobody puts on a t-shirt. People with guns got hurt at about the same rate as people without them. Read the failure modes and you'll see why. Because it isn't a caliber story. No time to act. Mechanical malfunction. Bear too close. Missed. Gun empty. Safety still on. Fell down. That's a list of human performance problems inside a 4-second window, and no cartridge on Earth fixes any of them. June 2010, Alaska. A man fired 3 rounds from a .357 Magnum revolver at a bear. 0 hits. Alaska's own state guidance, incidentally, doesn't even enter the handgun conversation. For actually stopping a brown bear, it names a 12-gauge slug or a .30-06. And then there's Mark Uptain. September 14, 2018, Teton Wilderness in Wyoming, Uptain was a hunting guide, field dressing an elk with his client Corey Chubon when two grizzlies came in on the carcass. The sow went for Uptain first. Chubon had Uptain's handgun and couldn't get it firing. The bear turned on him, so he threw the pistol toward Uptain, missed, and ran. The bear went back to Uptain a second time. He hadn't used his spray in the first attack. He got it out in the second. Investigators found it appears to have stopped the aggression, but only after the fatal injuries had already been inflicted. The bottleneck is not the gun, it's the 4 seconds. And here's the part I find genuinely funny in the bleakest available way. The 2012 firearms paper, The Gun Study, recommends bear spray. That didn't come from some anti-gun outfit. It came from the authors of the gun data. I'll give the other side its due. The two studies aren't head-to-head. Different incidents, different people, different decades. The firearm data set leans on hunters and guides, men hip-deep in a gut pile in the worst encounters there are. The spray data set leans toward the more survivable end. There's a published rebuttal that calls comparing the two headline numbers junk science by name, and it has a point. Nobody has run the trial that would settle it, and nobody ever will. Number 8. Running. This is the oldest item on the list, older than language. Something big turns toward you, and every system in your body votes to leave. You cannot outrun a bear, not downhill, not uphill, not in trail runners. And running does something worse than fail. It changes what you are. A defensive bear is trying to make a threat stop being a threat. A person sprinting away has stopped being a threat and started being something that runs. Every agency that writes this guidance, Park Service, Fish and Wildlife, Forest Service, Alaska Fish and Game, Parks Canada, lands on the same 2 words, never run. So I went looking for the exception. One documented agency-cited case of somebody who ran, got away, and lived because of it. I didn't find one. That isn't proof it's never happened, but every other item on this list has a file of real cases behind it. Names, dates, investigations. This one has an empty folder. The move every human being reaches for first has produced no save anybody bothered to write down. The absence is the evidence. Number 7. Climbing a tree. Your gut says get up high, out of reach. It's a decent instinct. It's just aimed at the wrong animal. Black bears are superb climbers. Curved claws, built for it, and they learn it as cubs, because climbing is how a black bear escapes a grizzly. You've heard the figure, 100 feet in 30 seconds. It's everywhere, and I can't find an official source under it, so take it as illustrative. It doesn't matter which version you believe. All of them beat you. Then there's the belief that does the real damage. Grizzlies can't climb. They can. Adult grizzlies are less arboreal, heavier, straighter claws, less interested, but less interested isn't can't, and there are documented climbs. The bear isn't the danger here. The myth is. Because the myth turns a tree into a plan, and the second you commit to 15 feet of trunk, you are slow, cornered, and hanging above an animal with nothing else scheduled. No agency endorses a tree as an escape route, not one. And if you're 30 feet up a mature conifer with a 5-minute head start, sure, physics is on your side. Nobody gets 5 minutes. The encounters that kill people start at 30 yards and are over in 3 seconds. Quick one, then we get to the half of this list that actually decides outcomes. If any of the last 4 items were told to you by somebody who sounded very certain, hit the like button and subscribe. That's what tells YouTube to show it to the next person heading out with a can on their hip and a lot of confidence. Back to it. Number 6. Bear bells and the whole family of noise gimmicks that came with them. The logic is sound. The bear doesn't want to meet you either, so warn it early and you both go home. It's the hardware that fails. Current Park Service guidance is blunt. Bear bells don't effectively warn a bear you're in the area. Yelling, clapping, and talking do. Tom Smith, the same Smith from the spray study, worked sound on bears in Katmai and reported them ignoring jingling bells at varying volumes, then reacting to a snapped stick. That's the whole problem in one image. A bell is thin, continuous, and high, and it reads like wind in the aspens. A human voice is broad, irregular, and unmistakably a mammal that is talking. Now, the record disagrees with itself here, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. There is a 1982 Glacier National Park study, the one Bell Defenders site, that reported hikers wearing bells were less likely to be charged by grizzlies. That study is real. It's also 44 years old, and agency consensus has moved off it since. The modern side is where the guidance sits, and it's the side I'd bet on, but you deserve to know the other paper exists. The bell isn't dangerous. The confidence is. A man with a bell on his pack believes he's announced himself, so he walks quietly into blind corners feeling covered. Talk instead, out loud, every so often, in the alders and around the bends you can't see through. It costs nothing, it works better, and you'll feel ridiculous doing it, which is exactly why almost nobody does. Number 5, the old school bear hang. Rope over a branch, bag in the air, food solved. It's the most satisfying skill in backcountry camping, and it looks fantastic when you land the throw first try. It is also, in most of the places that matter now, theater. Agencies didn't debunk the bear hang so much as quietly walk away from it. The standard today is an IGBC certified hard canister, Bear Vault, Garcia Backpackers Cache, Barricade, Counter Assault Bear Keg, UDAP, No Fed Bear. Yosemite legally requires an approved container across much of its backcountry. Denali requires bear-resistant containers. Yellowstone and Grand Teton require proper storage under rules that shift by zone and season. Forest Service guidance has moved to canisters, and some of it now tells you to leave the thing sitting on the ground rather than hang it, which tells you everything about how the hang has been performing. There's no clean bear hangs fail this % of the time study out there. What exists is displacement. The people who write the rules stopped recommending it and started mandating the alternative, which is its own kind of verdict. And certification doesn't mean bear proof. The committee itself says so. It means resistant, tested against live bears. Here's why food storage sits on a defense list at all. Every other item is about a bear that's already coming at you. This one is about not manufacturing the bear in the first place. A bear that gets a food bag out of a camp doesn't wander off improved by the experience. It comes back, to that camp, to the next tent, to somebody who did everything right. It's the only item on this list that mostly protects the person who shows up after you. Number 4, playing dead. This is the bear move. Stop people on the street, ask them what you do when a bear attacks, and almost all of them say play dead. They're right, for one animal in one kind of attack. In a genuine defensive contact with a grizzly, it works because of what a defensive bear actually wants. It doesn't want to eat you, it wants the threat gone. Park Service guidance is specific: flat on your stomach, hands laced behind your neck, legs spread so you're hard to roll, pack left on, and you stay there until it is genuinely gone. Todd Orr, Montana, 2016, was mauled by the same grizzly twice in one day and walked out. In 2020, a hiker in Kananaskis Country, Alberta, went down under a mother grizzly and came out of it with a bitten elbow. That's the tactic doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Now the inversion, and this is where the instinct becomes the injury. A predatory bear isn't trying to neutralize a threat. It's trying to subdue and eat, and stillness doesn't read as surrender to an animal in that mode. It reads as easier. Herrero's framing is about as bleak as biology gets. In a predatory attack, the bear just keeps on chewing. The Park Service says fight back against a black bear Do not play dead. Parks Canada goes further. An attack that begins with stalking, or that happens at night, is the most serious and potentially deadly kind, and playing dead is not appropriate. The number underneath that is the one to keep. A peer-reviewed synthesis counted 63 people killed by non-captive black bears in North America between 1900 and 2009 across 59 incidents. Roughly 88% of those were classified predatory, not startled mothers, not surprised bears, hunting. And here's what I couldn't find. There's no named case in the record where an investigation concluded that a specific person died because they chose to play dead in a predatory attack. So I'm not going to invent one for you. The guidance is rock solid and the aggregate is grim, and that's what you get. The right move against a grizzly that wants you to stop being a problem, and the worst possible move against a black bear that has already decided what you are. Number 3, fighting back with nothing in your hands. Your gut calls this hopeless. Grown man versus 300 pounds of predator, barehanded. That isn't a strategy, that's a last thought. It is also the correct default against a predatory attack, and against almost any black bear that makes contact. Not because you'll win, because it's the only lever left. Rick Nelson, Ontario, 2016, was walking his dog when a black bear reported at around 320 pounds came at him. Nelson was a former boxer. He hit it repeatedly with his fists, and the bear left. He had scratches. Same year, Gunma Prefecture, Japan, Atsushi Aoki, 63 years old, a karate practitioner, was attacked and went for the bear's eyes and face. It broke off. He drove himself to the hospital. Florida's wildlife agency states it flatly as a category. People have fended off black bear attacks with rocks, sticks, and bare hands. Now frame those right, because there's a version of this beat that gets people killed. Nobody in those stories beat a bear. Not one of them won a fight. What happened is that the bear ran a cost-benefit calculation, decided the meal was more trouble than it was worth, and disengaged. That's the entire mechanism, and it's the only one available to you. Raise the price. Which means the target isn't the body. There is nothing you can do to the body. It's the face, eyes, nose, anything soft, with whatever's in reach. Trekking pole, rock, camera, hands. Loud, ugly, and relentless. It isn't a plan. It's what's left when the plan is gone. And unlike running, it has real names attached to it. Number 2, knowing which attack you're in before you do anything at all. Everything you've been told about bears is one answer to a question that's wrong. There is no correct response to a bear. Play dead is right and wrong. Fight back is right and wrong. Every item on this list inverts depending on a single call you have to make in about 2 seconds on the worst day of your life. Here's what you're reading. A defensive bear is loud. It huffs, it woofs, it pops its jaws, it growls. Ears pinned back, head low and swinging side to side. It bluff charges and pulls up short, sometimes more than once. Everything it's doing is communication. It is telling you at volume that you are too close to something. A predatory bear is quiet, ears up and forward, head high and locked on you. It doesn't charge, it approaches, slowly, deliberately. It circles, it follows. It may have been following for a while. That's the one that should put ice in you. Noise means the bear is upset. Silence means the bear has finished deciding. No single cue settles it alone. And the most misread posture in the woods is a bear up on its hind legs, which is almost always an animal trying to see and smell you better, not one about to come. Denali's framing is the cleanest. The response tracks the behavior, not the species. Species is a good proxy. Grizzlies more often deliver defensive contact. Black bears more often have to be fought. Polar bears are treated as predatory nearly by default, but a proxy isn't a rule. Now the case that breaks my own framework, because I'd rather hand it to you than hide it. Go back to Mark Uptain. Wyoming Game and Fish ruled out every box they have. Not predation. Not food garden. The bears hadn't claimed the carcass yet. Not a mother defending cubs or space. And not defensive. The agency's own words were that the attack was unprovoked and could not be characterized as defensive. 2 healthy grizzlies wanted an elk carcass. 2 men hadn't finished dressing and attacked to take it. So the model has a hole in it with a name on it. It holds almost every time, and nobody tells you which day it doesn't. Polio's bear was the clean read, classified defensive, a startled animal, and the park let it live. The black bears are the opposite error, quiet, deliberate, predatory, and they're the most famous piece of bear advice in the world is the fastest way to die. The identification isn't one item on this list, it's the switch that decides whether any of the others save you. Sometimes the bear won't fit the box, you still have to call it. Number 1, not going alone. Your gut says that isn't bear defense, that's a scheduling problem. It doesn't come in a holster, there's no caliber to argue about, and nobody at a gun counter has ever recommended it. It is, by a distance, the most effective thing in this entire video. Yellowstone's injury record, published in a peer-reviewed journal, breaks out by group size, and the breakout is brutal. Solo hikers account for 48% of bear-inflicted human injuries. Pairs account for another 48%. Groups of 3 or more account for 4%. 4. And then there's the line I have reread more times than any other fact in this script. Across 47 years of that record, nobody in a group of 5 or more was injured. Not seriously injured, injured. 0 in 47 years. There's no mystery to the mechanism. A group is louder, bigger, and has more eyes on more sight lines, which matters. Because the thing that actually mauls people out here isn't a hunting bear or an angry bear. It's a surprised one. Nearly every death in this script starts with a bear that had no idea a human was there until the human was inside its space. Parks Canada recommends a tight group of 4 or more. The Park Service recommends a minimum of 3. Glacier reports no attacks on groups of 4 or larger. Every other item on this list is a response, something you do after the bear has already made its decision. This one operates before the encounter exists. It's free, it weighs nothing, and it has better numbers behind it than any canister or cartridge on the market. Which is exactly why you have never heard it framed as bear defense. There's nothing to sell. No brand, no ounce count, no forum argument, no 5-part comparison video. Just a phone call the night before, asking somebody if they want to come. Anthony Polio was on the Mount Brown Lookout Trail in Glacier National Park on May 3rd of this year, alone, in low light, in steep, deadfall-choked country. He surprised an adult male grizzly at close range. The bear reacted defensively. No caching, no consumption, no history of aggression, a lifelong resident of that park, which is why the park killed no bear over it. He had bear spray. He got it out and used it during the attack. His holster was found at the scene with a broken belt clip. He was found about 69 feet off trail. It was Glacier's first fatal bear attack since 1998. He had the right tool. He didn't have the thing that comes before the tool. That's the spine of the whole thing, and it's the least marketable sentence in the outdoors. The tool in your hand matters less than the decisions you made before you needed it. Spray works most of the time. Guns work some of the time, and less reliably than the men carrying them believe. Playing dead saves you or kills you depending on a call you make in 2 seconds. Not being out there by yourself beats every one of them for free. So tell me yours. A real bear encounter, close enough that you had to make a decision, not a sighting across a valley. Where it was, what bear, what you did, and what you were carrying. And if you've never had one, tell me what you carry anyway and why. Whether it worked is the interesting part, And this audience has more of those stories than any study I cited today. And if this was worth your time, hit the like button and subscribe. Straight answers about the gear people actually stake their lives on. That's this whole channel.